Hi, in this video I'm going to go through question 6 on Math 2008. So for the first part of this question, we have three people, A, B and C, and one of them is a liar who always lies, and another is a saint who always tells the truth, and the third is a switcher who sometimes tells the truth and sometimes lies. And they make these three following statements. So A says, I am the liar, B says, A is the liar, and C says, I am not the liar. And we want to know who is the liar among A, B and C. Okay, well, first of all, A's statement is rather suspicious. I mean, if they really were the liar, then they wouldn't be able to tell the truth and say that they were the liar. So we know A can't be the liar. But similarly, A can't be the saint because saints always tell the truth. So a saint wouldn't be able to pretend to be a liar. And so we must have that A is the switcher. But B says that A is the liar, and so we know now that this is a lie, and so B must be the liar. And we were only looking for the liar, so we don't really need to know about C, but we know that he must be the saint. Okay, now for part 2, we have three more people, P, Q and R, and one is a liar, one is a saint, and the third is what we call a contrarian. So contrarians lie if they are the first person to speak, or if the person who was speaking before them was telling the truth. But otherwise the contrarians tell the truth. So basically contrarians do the opposite of what the person before them just did, unless if they are the first person, and in which case they lie. And so P, Q, R make these three statements. So P says that Q is the liar, Q says that R is the liar, and R claims that P is the liar. And we want to know who is the liar among P, Q, and R. Okay, so let's think what would happen if each of P, Q, or R were the liar. So first, if P was the liar, well then one of Q and R would be the saint and the other would be the contrarian. And now if Q were the saint, they would of course tell the truth. But if they were the contrarian, then the person before just lied. And so as contrarians do the opposite of what the person before did, then Q would need to tell the truth. And so either way, Q must be telling the truth. But then Q says that R is the liar, and we know this can't be true because we know that P is the liar. So we have a contradiction here. And therefore our original assumption that P was the liar must be wrong. So P can't be the liar. Okay, now so how about if Q were the liar? Well then, P and R are either, one of them is a saint and the other is a contrarian. And we also see that P's statement that Q is the liar is true. And so because P spoke first, and contrarians lie if they are the first to speak, so because P didn't lie, this must mean that P is the saint. And so R would have to be the contrarian, but the contrarian is speaking after Q, who is a liar. So if the person before lied, then R would have to do the opposite and tell the truth. Then if R is telling the truth, then that must mean that P is the liar. But we know that's not true. We know P is the saint. So here we have a contradiction. And so we see that things don't work if Q were the liar. So we can't have Q being the liar either. Well, then the only option that leaves us with is R being the liar. And so let's just check that that works if R were the liar. Well, if R were the liar, then P and Q would have to be saint or contrarian. And we see that P's statement is false, so P can't be the saint. So we'd have P being the contrarian, Q being the saint, and R being the liar. And we see that Q's statement is true, so that doesn't contradict them being the saint. And so this would work if R were the liar. Okay, and so for part 3, we have three more people, X, Y, and Z, and we are told that one is a liar, one is a switcher, and the third person is a contrarian. And they make these statements. X says that Y is the liar, Y claims that Z is the liar, Z claims X is the liar, then X says Y is the liar again, and then Y says X is the liar. And we want to know who the liar is among X, Y, and Z. Okay, so again, let's think what would happen if X or Y or Z were the liar. And I'm going to start off with Z this. Okay, so let's think about what would happen if X or Y or Z were the liar. And I'm going to start off with Z this time, just because the liar is actually X, so I don't want to start off with them. So if Z were the liar, then one of X and Y is the contrarian, the other is the switcher. So if X were the contrarian, then because they're speaking after someone who just told a lie, then they have to do the opposite of that and tell the truth. So if X were the contrarian, then here they would need to tell the truth, but they don't, because we know Y isn't the liar, Z is. So X can't be the contrarian, and so they must be the switcher. And then that must mean that Y is the contrarian. But we see that X tells a lie both times, right? Both times they lie and say Y is the liar. And so Y, speaking after a lie, would have to tell the truth both times. But we see that this second time they tell a lie. And so we end up with a contradiction if Z is the liar. So we know that Z can't be the liar. It must be one of the other two. Okay, so now let's consider what would happen if Y were the liar. So here are our statements. So we see that Z speaks after Y. And so if Z were contrarian, because they spoke after someone just lied, then they would have to tell the truth. But we see that what Z says isn't the truth, because X isn't the liar, Y is. And so Z can't be the contrarian, so Z has to be the switcher. And then X must be the contrarian. But then, when contrarians speak first, they lie, but what X says here is the truth. And so that gives us a contradiction if Y is the liar. So Y can't be the liar either. And so that must mean that X is the liar. And let's just check that this works. So if X were the liar, then one of Y and Z would have to be the contrarian and the other would be the switcher. But if Y were the contrarian, they would be speaking after a liar, and so they need to tell the truth. But they don't tell the truth, so Y can't be the contrarian, so Y must be the switcher. And so we see that Z must be the contrarian. And if Z were the contrarian, then they would be speaking after a lie, so they'd need to tell the truth, and they have told the truth, so that's fine. And then what X says is still a lie, and Y can tell a lie or truth. So we see that this is consistent if Y is the switcher and Z is the contrarian, so it does work if X is the liar.